The Doc's Diagnosis is presented by Centris Federal Credit Union. Centris Federal Credit Union has been calling Omaha home for over 85 years, serving over 121,000 members in Omaha, Council Bluffs, Grand Island, and the Tryon and North Platte areas. Centris believes in improving the quality of life in the communities they serve. Welcome to our final Doctor's Diagnosis for the week, presented by Centris Federal Credit Union. I'm Travis Justice. He's Dr. Rob Zatechka, and the doc likes to talk offensive line. We'll probably spend a good portion of this year talking about offensive line because most of the stuff happens right up front. I mean, that's where plays really develop.
Got a little familiarity with it.
Yes.
Just a bit.
Just a tiny bit.
Just a little bit, so.
But one of the big things that happened yesterday was one of those Nebraska turnovers where Casey Thompson just got rushed, got sacked, and fumbled.
It was. It was kind of, it's your classic strip sack. And it's kind of a rough one. This is one of the plays where I fault the players a little bit, but I kind of fault the coaches for putting them in the position they did. And so what you're seeing here is an unbalanced offensive line where actually this is a tight end over here at the left tackle spot. They've taken Teddy Prohaska and moved him over here to essentially an unbalanced position where he's outside of Benhart here at right tackle, Brock Bando at right guard, and then you've got the center right here. So you've got an unbalanced line. Now the problem I have with that, with Teddy, is that you've got an offensive lineman who's coming back from a pretty severe knee injury. He's still getting into form. He's still kind of finding his groove a little bit. At the same time, this entire offensive line is kind of a little bit of a reshuffle from last year. That they're still trying to gel. They're still kind of figuring each other out. They're still trying to figure their positions out a little bit here. First year for Hickson at center. You've got Corcoran over at left guard. And then you take Teddy and you move him over here into this unbalanced spot. His footwork's going to be a little bit off. His balance is going to be a little bit off. And the defensive end takes advantage of that. This is the type of play where I think the coaching staff should have maybe just kind of kept things simple and not tried to get a little too crazy with this. And you can see here as we go and we hit about the 4 or 5 second mark into the play, what ends up happening is that Teddy's essentially, he's come straight back. And if you look at the footwork, that inside foot is behind the right foot. So the left foot's behind the right foot. This would probably be okay if Teddy was over on the left side, because then he'd be able to push he'd be over here and could push his guy out this way. He's essentially blocking this guy as if he's a left offensive tackle, except he's at the right tight end spot. The way his footwork is set up, his pad position, he does need to get low, get his head out, and he needs to get extension with his arms on this guy right here. But essentially, he's created sort of an open lane right here, right to the quarterback, that ends up leading to the sack and that fumble that North Dakota ends up recovering. Again, I'm not trying to be overly critical of Teddy on this particular play, but I think the coaches put him in a bad position, and that's something they've got to be smarter about, given the offensive line that they're working with.
So I'm going to ask you this before we wrap it up. You mentioned going from one side to another. How difficult is it? If you I mean, everybody thinks it's interchangeable, but it's probably not. It is,
and I mean, we did it when I played. So you had swing guys who'd go back and forth. I spent a couple of years doing it. Matt Hoskinson was a guy who played both guard positions as well as center. Aaron Taylor did it. It's not unusual, however, to be fairly good at it, you got to have guys who do it on a consistent basis, and taking Teddy over in this unbalanced situation is not a consistent basis, especially when he's coming off of an injury and trying to get back into form again, and you've got an offensive line with a group of guys that have not played together in their current positions for very long.
So if you see a play during the game that you would like Doc to diagnose, send us an email, doctalksports@gmail.com, and if it fits into our schedule, we might just pick yours to diagnose. For Dr. Rob Zatechka, I'm Travis Justice. We'll see you next week with another Doc's Diagnosis presented by Centris Federal Credit Union. From checking and savings accounts, certificates, home, auto, personal, and home equity loans to having a strong focus on community support and financial education, Centris Federal Credit Union is your full-service credit union. Federally insured by NCUA, Equal Housing Lender.